Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new Clash Royale video. Now, just 20 minutes ago, I found the craziest air deck strategy that I think I've ever found before. This one has been giving me so many wins in tournaments, it's not even funny. And the reason why I think this deck is doing so well is because people are just forgetting to bring anti-air in their decks, and that's why I'm just getting a lot of free damage with these balloon cards and with this Inferno Dragon. Now, the deck has an average cost of 4.3. That is very expensive. That is like one of the most expensive competitive decks out there. But the reason why it does so well is because, the reason why it's so expensive in the first place is because there's a variety of cards you can put down when you're going for an air push. You don't put all the cards down in one push, so the average elixir cost doesn't really matter just because you're going to be putting down only one of 3 of the cards when you're going for a push. Now, I gotta say, the reason why the deck is doing so well is not only because people are forgetting to put anti-air cards on the field, but because of the Executioner card. People, when they have it in their deck, they think that it's going to be good for anti-air because all they're going to be facing for air cards are minions and mega minions. But when's the last time we've seen a very popular Lava Hound deck? I haven't seen one in quite some time now. So maybe this is why it's such a good deck right now, because people just don't know how to counter it. The cards they have in their deck aren't primed for taking out air cards. Like, our first game, though, is a bit different. We are facing a balloon deck. I know I'm going to take some hits, so I just save up elixir for a push, a counter push basically. Balloon makes it to the tower, Mega Minion does some great damage to that witch, takes it out for a positive 2 elixir trade, and those fire spirits, they do some good damage, all 3 of them, but against these very heavy air cards, not going to make that big of a difference, and the first tower is already down. Now, I'm playing a bit aggressive. I decided to push with my Minion Horde, which is kind of good. They take out the Musketeer, they do some damage to that Crown Tower, but really, we're not going to be getting a 3-crown win that early in the game. That'd just be insane. Now, I also forgot to mention the Elixir Collector is inside of this deck, and that's just because, like I said before, to get good air pushes down where you can counter multiple cards like Inferno Towers and Executioners and all that mumbo jumbo, you need a lot of Elixir. So if you can somehow just savor your Elixir Collector and counter while you're doing so, then you're going to be good for a big, massive push. Now, these Elite Barbs might finish off our bottom of tower, but with a quick put down of the Log card and the Mega Minion, we secure those 2 cards down, only taking around 2 to 3 hits from those cards. They still do a lot of damage though, even if they only make contact twice. Now, let's take out that balloon card, and let's see if one of that card is taken out, we can put down a tank in front of our 2 air cards, because if these cards are shielded by having a tank, then they can just do a lot of damage and proceed to maybe take out another tower. So, Inferno Dragon barely hangs in, does take a lot of damage from that witch card though. Yeah, and lucky for us, when we dropped on a Minion Horde that was right on top of his Musketeer, gives us not really a positive trade, but an easy takedown on that range card. And yeah, just a lot more damage happening to his Crown Tower, which is on very low HP. So another Elite Barbarian push coming in. Unfortunately, this time with the Rage card, the rate of fire is really insane, and that's not going to, we just can't defend that. There's a lot of health and damage going down at once. Let's just prepare to do one last push on his Crown Tower. It's at 775 HP. That is very low, so Lava Hound's going to make it, even though he does really low DPS when his pups do explode, or if he just stays on the tower for long enough, it will go down, and the gameplay is getting crazy. Balloon, 2 Mega Minions, and an Inferno Dragon, and yep, that is going to be the end of his Crown Tower and a first good game. And that's really what I wanted to show you guys for the first game, how powerful this deck can do, even against the cards like the Musketeer. Now, I believe in the second or the third game, there's also gameplay of this deck facing the Inferno Tower, which is a huge counter towards Lava Hound. But no worries, with the Zap card, you can easily reset the Inferno Tower. Now, just remember, when you're trying to reset the Inferno Tower, make sure you have a card like a bunch of minions or a balloon, basically, behind your Lava Hound. This way, when you reset the Inferno Tower, it's not for anything, or it's not for nothing. Now we're going to be facing, what is his name? Zuby971 with a Goblin Spawner deck. It has been forever since I've seen one of those cards placed down, but I know my plan to take it out. I think I'm going to drop a balloon on top of it, but right now, we've got to handle these Elite Barbs. He saw that I placed my Elixir Collector down, so he obviously knew that I was a bit low in juice. So the Elite Barbs get taken out quite easily, and now let's put down a balloon right beside the 2 other cards. This way, there's a lot of HP in the push, so balloon almost makes it to the Goblin Spawner, but a random Tornado spell, wasn't really suspecting that, and that was kind of a waste of a Tornado spell. Didn't do any damage to my cards, and it didn't pull it towards anything that could have taken them out, so that was just a waste of 3 elixir for the opponent. And that is just crazy luck. The bomb from the balloon actually takes out the princess, and Inferno Dragon almost clears that top left tower, but it gets shut down in time by that Musketeer card. Alright, so now let's set up for another push. Here we go, Lava Hound, Inferno Dragon, and the Mega Minion. Now, I make a bit of a mistake. I placed Inferno Dragon a bit ahead of the Lava Hound, which is bad because now the tower is going to focus my damage dealer, which you don't want. You want the towers or the enemies to focus down the tanks. This way your damage dealers can do all the work. Anyways, though, it gets taken out. Not too much to worry about. We have a big push coming in. So much damage from those minion cards. Top of the tower taken out. That was a waste of a log because the minions took out the princess before the log even made contact. But although we're playing very sloppy, because I am using very effective pushes that have a lot of HP and a lot of damage, we're just outplaying and outclassing the opponent's cards, which means that even though we're making a bit of mistakes, it doesn't really matter at this point in time. Now, 1 minute and 10 seconds remaining. Let's play a bit defensive. I don't want to go for another push. That just risks me from, I don't know, getting attacked by another Elite Barbarian push, or yeah. Yeah, here comes Elite Barbs and the Valkyrie card. Unfortunately, because we are using air cards, there's no way to distract the cards on the ground, except for by shoving them with a log card, which we're currently out of rotation from, but it doesn't matter, they get taken out. We do lose a tower, but we have a huge force grouping up, and knowing that this guy does not have a lightning spell or anything with huge air range or air splash, it just means that we can group up all these cards and go for a massive push. Now, log finally being successful, takes out the princess, and although the skeleton army can attack my air cards, it is sure a good distraction from my very slow hitting Mega Minion and Inferno Tower cards. But these cards are closing in on his tower. What will he do to defend? Okay, so he's gonna pull a tornado. And I know that we are like taking a lot of damage, but because our cards have so much HP, we can just keep on placing them down, and all he can do is just defend, because the moment he stops defending, he is gonna lose his tower essentially. So let's place down another Lava Hound. Let's use a Minion Horde to take out all of the skeletons, and the Musketeer doing some great work to my Lava Hound, but a quick put down of the Mega Minion takes care of that card. And now we're in double elixir. Let's put down one last balloon, and if it doesn't make it to the tower, it should take it out. And this is just so frustrating. Oh my god, we're so close to winning, but the tornado just keeps on pulling. He has one last attempt with those Elite Barbs, but it's not going to do anything. And we're going to finally get another 3-crown game. And make sure to remember this, everybody. All 3 games done in this video were done in a row. So the fact that we're getting big 3 crowns in a row just means that this deck is doing really well. Now, we are doing classic challenges, not grand challenges, because when I do make brand new decks, I don't want to be risking 100 gems on the line. That's just stupid. And of course, you can understand, before you hop into the grand challenge, you need a deck with experience. So we're going to be facing Echo with a minor deck. That's annoying. That was a stupid log. I didn't really know what to expect from that. Maybe I thought that the log would push it to my tower so that the miner would stop focusing on my my pump, but clearly the knockback on the log isn't that much, and we're just going to lose 2 elixir from that log card. Now, we don't have enough elixir to put a Lava Hunt in front of our 2 cards, so let's put down a balloon card. No rage in this deck, so we're just going to slowly watch what these cards can do. Now, he's going to distract with the skeleton army, similar to what our last opponent did do. And finally, we're going to be facing an Inferno Tower deck. And I say finally because recently I've been facing so many Inferno Tower decks that it's really annoying. I mean, you try to use a P.E.K.K.A. or a Golem deck, it's not going to happen, buddy. Now, the action in this game is prime. It's a good example of this deck. But I want to take some time to talk about why the deck is built the way it is. Now, the log is great for taking out skeletons. Although skeletons don't attack air cards, of course, you need a card that can just make sure that they aren't distracting your other cards, and in this case, the log and the zap do perfect for that job. Now, our main tank is Lava Hound. You need that to just penetrate the enemy tower or base. But this is when it gets a bit situational. We have 3 options. When you put down Lava Hound, you can either back it up with a balloon, which is good for taking out Inferno Towers, or an Inferno Dragon, which is good for taking out golems and then counter pushing for an enemy attack. And lastly, the Minion Horde is just a great overall damage dealer card. If you're facing somebody who doesn't have arrows or some type of splash card to take out your Minion Horde, then that card is just going to be a huge game changer that will, like, I don't know, give you a huge advantage. You guys get the point though. Everything in this deck does have a point and does have a counter for when you're facing other decks. Pretty obvious stuff. Now, 1 minute left. Let's go back to the gameplay because we're having a very good game right now. I believe this guy does have the Royal Giant, so we got to make sure that we are keeping some cards for defense. Alright, so Royal Giant, gonna count that with the Inferno Dragon. Nice positive 2 trade. And he even decides to put in a Zap card, which furthers that positive trade. Now, the Royal Giant is doing some great work to our bottom tower. One more hit or one more Zap and it's gonna get taken out, so we gotta make sure to go for a second tower, or else it's just gonna be a draw or a loss for us. So here we go. A big push coming in. Balloon Inferno Dragon. And this is why I love the Inferno Dragon so much. It locks onto the tower. The enemy completely forgets about it, and he tries to distract it with the skeleton army, but it's too late. Inferno Dragon charges up and takes out the crown tower in just a matter of a couple of seconds. And I hope you guys understand why I made a video on this deck. Although it might seem random, like who makes an all-air deck, it is actually such an effective strategy. If you're facing golems, that's like 1+ for you. Just easily take it out with Inferno Dragon. If you're facing like decks that don't have good anti-air, then you basically have the game won for yourself if you just don't screw it up. Now, thank you all for watching. If you think that this deck has any flaws, comment that down below. And yeah, I'll just take a look and maybe try to improve the deck in the future. But remember, everybody here watching does want to get the best deck ever possible. So just comment down below your best deck. This way everybody here can just share the juice. You get it, you get it, you get it. So anyways, thank you for watching and I'll catch you all later.